Legend for Life here, bringing you guys another Archetype analysis, or as some of you guys suggested, Archetype breakdown, which honestly I kind of like that name a bit more, so I might change it. I don't know. Still debating, but as you can see up here, I'm keeping it as Archetype analysis just on here, but yeah, I'm probably going to change it to Archetype breakdown. Anyway, so as you can tell from the title of the video as well as on the screen, we are talking about Metalfoes, or Metalfoes as they were called over in OCG today. So I'm going to try and do these archetype breakdowns about twice a week or so, just simply to try and spice things up, and also because, let's face it, you guys are pretty much only going to be interested in the newer archetypes for the first week or two that they are out, and I just want to try and, give my opinions and thoughts on these new archetypes. So, first and foremost, the Metalfoes are a normal pendulum archetype. They are considered by many to be a successor to the Ignite deck. I disagree. Yes, they have similarities, but they have completely different playstyles. Ignite's never had a true extra deck monster. Yes, you could make the argument that, Ignister was intended to be their extra deck monster, but at the same time, he does nothing for the deck aside from look cool and just clear the board. With that being said, though, Metalfoes focus on fusion, summoning, popping your own stuff to set your not your field spell, you can't do that, but your fusion card and your trap cards and the future quick play spell card. With that being said, this deck is a very, very fun and interesting deck. The issue is that as it stands, playing a pure build of Metalfoes is darn near impossible. Like, I'm going to be honest. It's like, okay, you got 12 monsters and that's about it. You never see them. Unless, you're playing, ways to get to them. They don't have a searcher. I mean, they kind of do, kind of don't. They have Metalfoes counter, and their combination trap card can also search. The counter does it a different way, and so does combination. But we'll get to that here shortly. The deck has a lot of power plays, and it can do a lot of damage. The biggest way that they are going to be able to make an impact in the meta is through their use as an engine. They can be used in a variety of different decks, and we will of course get into that here shortly. But first and foremost, let's cover the actual cards. So first and foremost, the normal monsters all have the exact same pendulum effect, but have different flavor text, and that's one of the big reasons why people compare it to Ignites, is because they all have the same pendulum effect, but different monster effects. They don't have monster effects at all. So, basically, they all have the effect where you can, once per turn, target another face-up card you control, destroy it, and if you do, set a Metalfoes spell trap card directly from your deck. And it's very good. You pop a card, set your stuff, and that's nice. They have a level 7, so they have access to rank 7s, as well as also level 8 synchros if you play tuners in the deck, or a variety of other things. So the level 7 is a 2400 by 2000 scale of 8. They're all fire psychics, by the way, which is an interesting combination. Then the level 4 is a scale 1, 19 by 5. The level 3 is a scale 1, 17 by 1. The level 2 is a scale level 2, scale 8, 0 by 21. Interesting stats, kind of everywhere. They don't have a really defensive monster aside from Steel Ren, which is the level 2, and he's not even that good as a defensive monster. Yeah, 2100 is a pretty decent defense, but it's also nothing really major anymore. That being said, though, the deck is clearly meant to be more aggro-based with its high stat line for attack power, which I like. It's a very fast and action, trying to go in and get as much damage as possible. And you'll see one of the big reasons why whenever we get to their main boss monster, Ori Hulk. So, first and foremost, now we go to their spell cards. Metalfoes Fusion, or Metalfoes Fusion as it's called over here, because the archetype's name in TCG is Metalfoes, and it's going to take forever to get used to calling them by their new name. So, first and foremost, and I've been saying that a lot, so I'm going to try and stop. It is a polymerization, verbatim. It's exclusive to Metalfoes. You have to go into a Metalfoes Fusion monster. But aside from that, your fusion materials are not restricted at all. It's a poly. You use monsters in your hand or field. I absolutely love the card art of this, by the way. The character on there, I'm pretty sure it's Silverbird, the girl on Silverbird. She's adorable, but hey, whatever, that's just me. However, this card is not entirely like poly. It has a really cool effect. It makes it so you don't have to play 3 of it, but I still like playing 3 of it, just so I see it more often. And that is, if this card is in your graveyard, you can shuffle it into your deck and then draw one card. There's no stipulation on that or anything, except that you can only do it once per turn. So you don't have to discard a card to do it, you don't have to do anything, it's just shuffle it back in the deck, draw one card, that's it. You don't have to do it, you can't do it again, but it's really nice. So, really good fusion spell card. It's just as a standard poly, and that's kind of a hindrance, really, for its standardness, aside from the fact that it's a reoccurring poly. Next up is their field spells. Depending on the build of Metalfoes, this may or may not see play. There are various builds of Metalfoes because of, again, their usefulness as an engine, and in some builds you see people play this as a 1-2 of, and in some builds you don't see it at all. Me personally, I like this card quite a bit, partially because it helps you go for more damage and really push for more game. So, all Metalfoes monsters you control gain 300 attack and defense. That's pretty standard with archetypal specific field spells lately. It seems like every single one of them says, oh, monsters of this archetype gain 300 attack and defense. Not it. It has another effect where while you control a Metalfoes card in your Pendulum Zone, non-effect Metalfoes monsters you control are unaffected by your opponent's card effects. And this deck is like 90% non-effect monsters. The two main fusions that you're going to be going into for damage, other than Orihulk, are non-effect monsters. They don't have an effect. And the main deck monsters, aside from this dude over here who's not out yet, are non-effect monsters, once again. So, yeah. All of them become unaffected by everything in your opponent's control, which is really, really good in my personal opinion, because you don't have to worry about Torrential, you don't have to worry about Bottomless, you don't have to worry about any of the mirror forces, you don't have to worry about anything, you don't have to worry about Compulse, 101, Gastel, etc., etc. You don't have to worry about any of that. You can just go in blind and do whatever you want, really, pretty much, and then just worry about your monsters getting ran over by battle, or your opponent destroying the field spell, and then regecking your board, which is always a threat. So I really like this field spell. It's really, really nice. The, again, main issue is that some builds play it, some other builds don't, and I think the main builds that people will be playing don't play it. So, next up is the trap cards. They have two, and that is Metalfoes Counter and Metalfoes Combination, and there I am using the OCG name again. It's Metalfoes now. God dang it. So, Metalfoes Counter. If a card or cards you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, special summon one Metalfoes monster from your deck. During Emperor's turn, except a turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, add one face-up Metalfoes monster, Pendulum monster from your extract to your hand. Very nice trap card. I kind of wish it was a counter trap because of, the name. But whatever. It's a very nice trap card. Just, oh, hey, you killed my stuff. I get to keep my field, kind of. And also, I get to grab back a pendulum from my extract if I need it. Which is really, really nice. Then, really, honestly, the only time you ever really use that second effect is if you don't have a skill that you need and you need to get it back. Which, again, is very nice. And next up is Metalfoes Combination. Continuous trap card. Once per turn, if a fusion monster is fusion summoned, you can target a Metalfoes monster in your graveyard whose level is less than that fusion monster's level. Special summon it. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one Metalfoes monster from your deck to your hand. So the nice thing about this is that it's once per turn, and it is during your first turn, where if your opponent fusion summons a monster during their turn, you can use its effect to bring out a Metalfoes from your graveyard, which is really nice. This is a free monster reborn that you can keep using multiple times. The issue with this is that your Metalfoes don't really go into the graveyard very much unless you purposely make them go into the graveyard, either by detaching from an Xyz monster or by using them in the hand as fusion material, which again you don't really do very often. But still, it's a really nice card. It's basically a monster reborn, and hey, if it dies, you get to add a Metalfoes from your deck to your hand. It's currently the only search card for the Metalfoes monster, other than Counter, which is an indirect search. I really wish this deck had another way to search itself, and there's no such thing as a Psychic Rhoda. I mean, the closest thing to that is E-Telly, but again, that I'm not really counting it. It's an indirect search like Counter. But yeah, overall, the first wave is really nice, or at least for the main deck. So let's cover the extract, and there's really not much to talk about them. So Metalfoes Cardinal, I think his new name is Crimson Knight or something stupid like that. He needs a Metalfoes monster and 2 monsters with 3,000 or less attack power, and he's a 3k beat stick non-effect monster. Not much else to say about that. Next up is Metalfoes Adamant. I forgot his English name, sorry about that. Anyway, so he's basically the same as this dude, but 2,500, and he needs a Metalfoes monster with a monster of 2,500 or less. Again, very, very straightforward, not much more to say than that. And then we get to Orihulk, the currently only effect monster in the extract for the deck, although they will be getting 2 more, which I think is interesting how they're breaking the whole mold with, oh hey, they don't have effects and stuff, but hey, whatever. So Orihulk, he needs 2 Metalfoes monsters. He's a 2,800 beat stick, so that means he's the 2nd strongest fusion. And if a Metalfoes monster you control attacks a defense position monster, inflict double the piercing damage to your opponent. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target 1 card on the field, destroy it. So this guy is really, really nice. If any of your Metalfoes just attack directly, oh hey, look, I mean, sorry, not attack directly, attack over a defense position monster, oh hey, look at what would have been 1,400 damage, it's now 28. It's a really good amount of damage. It's an easy way to get a lot of damage in on your opponent. And this encourages you to play stuff like Quaking Mirror Force, Book of Moon, Econ, stuff like that to put your opponent's monsters in defense so you can do more damage than you would be if you were just attacking over them, which is really, really good. Again, just sheer amount of damage you can put out, as we have seen with the likes of Chaos Max. So, now then, how will this deck impact the meta? Personally, I think that it will have a very big impact on the meta, especially once Cosmo, PK Fire, and Monarch die, hopefully, in a fire. Please, can I do that? As this deck and Blue Eyes will definitely see themselves become Tier 1 decks. Now, the reason why this deck will become a Tier 1 deck is not because of how good the actual cards are, but how good they make as an engine. With the Yang Zings, they especially work quite well. I have seen the amount of combos you can do, because as you guys know, you gotta pop stuff in order to trigger these guys' effects, and like you just pop your Yang Zings and you go off from there. I personally have been testing out a Yubel version, which is very, very mean, because you just get out Yubel, then you pop the first stage Yubel, which gets you Terror Incarnate, then you pop Terror Incarnate with the other Pendulum, which gets you Ultimate Nightmare, and then like you just go off from there. I've seen some other builds, like mixing them with Magispectors, mixing them with something with the new Blackwing monster, Gofu, so that you can easily go into Ultimaya, and apparently, because you set a card from the deck, that triggers Ultimaya's effect, which is quite nice. And yeah, it just works as an engine really, really well. I can also only imagine what kind of destructive power mixing these things with the Draco Slayers could do, although I'm kind of scared. So, with that being said, yeah, they're going to do a lot as an engine for the deck, especially for slower decks like Yang Zing and various other things. They can also work quite well with Fire Kings and just about anything else that likes to be destroyed. I've tried out Mech Lords with this deck. I don't recommend that because it just doesn't work as well as I hoped it would. Mostly because Mech Lords just say, oh hey, your other stuff can't attack, unless like you're talking about Grano, who for some reason does allow your other stuff to attack, but hey, that's beside the point. So this deck works really well as an engine. Now, in the next set, after the Dark Illusion, they are getting more support. They're getting 4 new cards, 2 fusions of new fusion spell, and an effect monster in the main deck for some reason. So, now then, we're going to go into cover these and talk about how they will affect these. I actually have not read Mithril yet, I'm going to be honest. So, the first one is Rare Metalfoes or Metalfoes Bismagia. This pendulum effect is the same as everybody else. Target another face-up card you control, destroy it, and if you do, set a Metalfoes spell trap card from your deck to your hand. From your deck. Now then, his monster effect though is kind of interesting. If this card on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can add 1 Metalfoes monster from your deck to your hand. During the end phase of this turn, you can only use this effect of Rare Metalfoes Bismagia once per turn. So he searches out a Metalfoes, and that is very, very good, because aside from him, they only have one other card, and that's Combination, and honestly, Combination takes a bit, because you gotta rely on it getting destroyed, so you either gotta destroy it yourself and not plus off of it being able to be as a monster reborn, or wait for your opponent to destroy it after you plus off of it, which is kind of a skillful thing to do. Now, with that being said, though, Bismagia is very interesting. He lets you add a Metalfoes monster from your deck to your hand during the end phase of that turn, and the reason why I say he's interesting is because of his level. He's a level 1, which means you can't pendulum summon him unless you just get a skill 0, which will probably never happen. Now, Some will say, "Oh my God, that's terrible that they made it a level 1." I think it's Konami trying to balance it out. They have made several pendulum monsters where, oh hey, if this card's destroyed, you get to search out stuff, and oh hey, look, I can just pinch summon it back and get the effect again. And this is Konami trying to do it again, but balance it out a bit more, and I like that. Besides, you can always get it back with counter if you really, really need it. Now then, going on to the fusions, and actually, I'm going to cover the fusion spell. It's quite literally just a quick wave volley. It's El Shaddai fusion. It's verbatim El Shaddai fusion, except instead of Shaddai monster, it's Metalfoes monster. So yeah, same thing. Really, just helps you go for OTKs. I'm not sure how many people are actually going to play because, well, you gotta wait a full turn before you can use it after you set it. So I don't know. Anyway, so. Now the new fusions coming out later. Metalfoes Mithril. This is a 2600, 1000 Psychic Fire fusion monster. Needs a Metalfoes monster plus a Pendulum monster. Pretty generic fusion monster. I also quite like the artwork. I think it's this girl. Yeah, it's Soul Bird. So kind of weird how we're not getting her fusion until the next set. But anyway, so. Her effect is you can target 2 Metalfoes cards in your graveyard and 1 card on the field, shuffle the first targets into the deck, and if you do, return the second target to the hand. Okay, quite nice. You can only use this effect of Metalfoes Mithril once per turn. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 face-up Metalfoes Pendulum monster from your extract or 1 Metalfoes Pendulum monster from your graveyard. So she's kind of like a Pendulum Reborn, kind of. Which is kind of nice, because, oh hey, she dies after you use her effect and blah blah blah. And hey, look at that, I get to bring up Bismazia, and I get to search off of him again. So, yeah, you have another way to get Bismazia out of your extract. It's just, you can't pendulum summon him. So it is, again, I feel like Konami trying to balance it out and learning from their mistakes. Hopefully. And then they're doing Full Metalfoes Alchemist. Now, a lot of people say this is a reference to Full Metal Alchemist, and yeah, I gotta agree, but however, card art-wise and effect-wise, I don't see it. So, he's a level 1/0/0 fusion monster, Psychic Fire. This guy is actually the second fusion monster at level 1, because if I remember correctly, the other one is good old Thousand Eyes Restrict, and yeah, I was right. And hilariously enough, they have the exact same stat line. Anyway, so Full Metalfoes Alchemist, he needs a Metalfoes monster plus 1 normal monster. Must be fusion summoned and cannot be spell summoned by other ways. I believe he is the only Metalfoes fusion. Yep, he is the only Metalfoes fusion to have that line of text, and I hate that line of text on fusion monsters because, as you guys may or may not know, just about every single elemental hero fusion monster has that on its text, and it's annoying. Anyways, so its effect is once per turn during your opponent's turn, you can target 1 effect monster on the field, equip that target to this card. It is as a quick effect. This card gains defense equal to the combined original attack of monsters equipped to it by this effect. While this card is equipped with a fusion material listed on a Metalfoes fusion monster, you can use that equipped card as a fusion material for that fusion monster. So he, funnily enough, acts like a restrict or relinquished, which again is hilarious because they have the same stats and darn near the same effects. Although Full Metalfoes also acts as a kind of pseudo super poly. I don't know how many people are actually going to play this card, like even as a one-of, unless you're playing pure Metalfoes, which might see some merit in playing this card. I think he's really good. I mean, really, honestly, and also being able to just gain defense equal to the attack of the monsters you put onto him, he can put up a wall. The only issue with this is that this deck is a very offensive deck, and this is a very defensive card and a very offensive archetype. So I don't know how fully useful he is going to be. With that being said, though, it's very nice being able to steal your opponent's monsters and use them as equip cards. My issue is that he targets, and that's about it, really. But, however, with that being said, though, he has a quick effect. So, oh, hey, your opponent reveals Blue Eyes, summons up Blue Eyes Alternative. On summon, just equip it onto him, and hey, look at that, I have a 3k defense. Get over me. So, yeah, it's a really, really good card, I think. But, however, I think he kind of counters the archetype and just how he's a defensive card over an offensive card. I mean, look at that artwork, too. It looks like he'd be a very offensive monster, but no. So, with that all being said, This archetype is a very good one, and really honestly, the Dark Illusion introduces the archetype quite well, I feel like. But however, it also can't stand on its own two legs as a full archetype. Heck, even with Bismasia, they still need, I think, another good monster or two in the main deck to be able to be a standalone deck. And until that happens, they're just going to be the engine, the little engine they could. And heck, to my knowledge, I don't think there's anything that's been confirmed about them getting more support after Invasion Vengeance, so I don't know. I mean, who knows, maybe we'll get a TCG exclusive card for them or something. So, with that being said, this deck is definitely going to have an impact on the meta, especially if the big three get killed off in the upcoming ban list, whenever that may happen. Come on, get on with that. So guys, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I hope I was able to explain this all well, and tell me what you guys think. Archetype analysis or archetype breakdown? Which one? I'm still debating, and until I decide, this one's going to be called archetype analysis as well. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day. If it's your birthday, happy birthday, and see you all later. Peace out. Goodbye.